That's a good reader, and that's one of the things I saw in him when he was a kid down in the AAU tournaments. I saw the way he read. He didn't have to have the quickness. All you have to do is understand the instincts and get to the right spots, and that's a gift. The good Lord bless Pat with that gift, and all we try to do is make sure that we use the gift the good man gave him.
That was Pat Bradley's former coach, Nolan Richardson, talking about not just his shooting, but his defensive ability back in the day. And one of the unique things about this Arkansas basketball team is we welcome in the shooter into the program this morning. Pat, they're playing both ways, man. Top 26 in defense and offensive efficiency. What's most impressed you about Arkansas basketball during this 10-game SEC winning streak?
Oh, what's up, fellas? How we doing? I think that's it. That's what the most impressive thing is the efficiency. I mean, that in itself is what it's all about, because that's the ability to follow a game plan. And they have become coachable. They're unselfish. They've shown even to be hungry. I mean, they didn't let up. Mm-hmm. You know, they wanted to continue to keep the foot on the gas. So when they're just making good decisions, good high percentage shots, turning down shots to get better shots, understand to take what the defense gives you. And that was just an example last night where against LSU, 60% of their points was on layups and free throws. Well, you fast forward last night. I mean, it was at halftime. We had 60% of our points from the 3-point line. Yeah. And that last night, I think we ended up shooting 35 threes, which was, I think, the most since December 9th against Southwest Northeast directional school of you pick the state. Yeah. I mean, you look at the numbers, like in the non-conference, I should probably do this, but if you guys got a calculator, I mean, you just look at like the 3-point shooting numbers, and it just shows the team in general, and obviously Coach Musk gets the credit, the coaching staff, of understanding this, but the players do get credit for trusting the game plan. They've gone from a huge numbers 3-point shooting to huge numbers in free throw shooting. And I understand the analytics and all that stuff, like threes are better than twos and all that. Although high percentage shots are better than all of them. And I would rather a free throw at 80% versus a contested fadeaway 27-footer all day long. Yeah. So that's what I mean by they're playing smart basketball.
Pat, one of the cool things about this basketball team is just they're doing it against some really good teams. And Tommy and I were discussing this earlier. I'd like your take. The SEC, it's not as good as it's been the last couple years, so it's still a strong conference. You watch it every single night. You talk about it every single night. And then you also get a chance to watch some other college basketball teams. What is the SEC right now as a basketball conference as it relates to the Big Ten, the Big 12? Where is it kind of in that pecking order, Pat?
Well, I think it's right up there. Now, if you want to, you can split hairs, but look at the Big 12 SEC Challenge. I believe we won that. Mm-hmm. And that's in a year where Kentucky's not Kentucky. And so, you know, you look at how we match up on any given night. And I think that's challenge of it is nothing is really apples to apples when you're comparing conferences. You can't, if you look at Missouri beats Illinois. I'm sorry, but isn't Illinois number 1 seed right now in the latest Joey Brackets situation?
Big win last night.
So, yeah, Illinois had a great win. They're number 1 seed in the late Joe Lunardi bracketology. He slotted them up there in the final number 1 seed, and that's when we got slotted up to the number 3 seed last night. I don't know if you guys saw that. Mm-hmm. So to your point, yeah, on any given night, sure, if you matched up against a team, but I mean, you got to give the nod to the Big Ten just because right now they have you can just look at it, but they're an older league. Not making excuses, but they are an older league. We're a younger league. Consistently have more NBA draft picks than any conference. You look at the SEC freshmen right now, the best freshman class, all of the land. Sophomore class, I'll throw up against any conference. So, yeah, if you want to get all the metrics, sure. Maybe we're this year behind the Big Ten and a A or B to the Big 12, whichever way you want to flip it. The way I look at it, though, is how are you going to compare those things? To me, I enjoy the Big 12 SEC Challenge. I enjoy we're better competition, better than yours. But at the end of the day, if we're all trying to win a national championship, the Big Ten hadn't won one since 2000, wasn't it, Michigan State? So if you count national championships, the SEC seems to be the one that's taking the lead on that.
Pat, I want to go back to something you talked about with game plans. I mean, you look back, particularly the last few weeks. I think about the LSU game. You were down, 5 at the half, Alabama game. And you think about halftime adjustments. And the way this team has played in the second half, you can't help but give some credit to what this coaching staff and these players are doing, in that 15 minutes. We all get up and get us a fresh drink, and we listen to what you say at halftime and what's happened in the first half. In that locker room, they're talking about the things they need to tweak and change. And I've been really impressed about how this team has played better in the second half. Even in a game that last night they had in hand, they came out and played better in the second half even. So give us some insight to what goes on, because Musselman seems to really have it dialed in with him and his staff, how to recognize what needs to be changed, how to communicate that, and then the players go execute it.
Well, I think what you just said, without having the luxury or the privilege of actually being in the locker room, I think the last thing you just said is what's separating this team. Because you go back to, let's say, the Alabama game, I thought the first few minutes of that game, that defensively we were dictating who shoots for Alabama. And that cannot be achieved unless you have great communication from the coaching staff to the players. And then from the player standpoint, it can't be achieved unless you have great understanding and then going out and executing it. So I think throughout, and we even started like the Mississippi State game, Mississippi State started that game really well, if you remember. And then it almost seems like from a defensive standpoint, we're able to slow things down, get an idea of what it is the opponent's trying to do, and then get back to the game plan. So I think a lot of what you're saying at halftime, I would assume, because you can't throw too much stuff at a team. And let's be honest, I mean, there's only so much that any player during a game can absorb. I mean, you don't want to change things. I would imagine at halftime, Coach Muss is just going back and reiterating the game plan that was communicated all week leading up to that, and credit the guys for understanding it. But I just think Muss does an excellent job of communicating, man. I mean, think of it this way. Like, the other thing that I think is so great to see is guys understanding their roles, and that's a communication thing. Like, the coaching staff has got to be able to sit down certain players and say, here's what we need from you. Like, we don't need this particular shot. We need you to come off the bench. We need you to do this. We need you to do. And the kid is like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. I mean, that never happened. Adults don't even behave like that. I mean, come on, Tommy, you've been around the block. I mean, think about it. Like, when's the last time you ever had a conversation with an adult and they were able to follow the game plan? Yeah. So to do that,
then to get a 20-year-old to do it's even more of a challenge. So
who has their own goal and who's kind of already has their own goals and things in mind. He's got them playing on side. It's like, trust me when I tell you, it's not like the times when we get so frustrated watching whether it be a football team, basketball team, baseball team, you name it. It's because guys lose focus and they forget, what is this all about? Oh, this shot isn't a good shot, but I'm going to shoot it anyway. I was open. Come on, coach. I hadn't shot it in about 5 minutes. Coach, I just got that rebound. I deserve to shoot it. Like, all those things he's able to kind of keep out of their minds.
Yeah.
You know, you almost got to be like a brainwash. You know what I mean? You got to brainwash these guys sometimes. And he's a master at it, man. I was just talking to my other guys, and I mean, it's just so difficult when you look at Coach Muss. I mean, he's done everything to be considered National Coach of the Year.
Sure.
The only issue is the other guy down there in Tuscaloosa. When you go through conference, losing 2 games, that's pretty stout. So, I mean, Nate Oates, you know what I mean? It's just a season where 2 guys who probably couldn't have gotten where they are from 2 opposite situations. You know, Nate Oates a few years ago was coaching high school basketball. Eric Musselman a few years ago was coaching professional basketball. And now they both have their teams, the top of the SEC standings. You can't make this stuff up, though. You can't make it up.
I couldn't believe I'm watching this win last night. We go to the postgame show, and I couldn't believe what I heard. Your man Dari sets you up. I mean, just puts one on the tee for you and says, "Hey, PB, I think Arkansas's playing right now better than anyone in the league. Arkansas is the best team right now today in the Southeastern Conference." I thought, oh, Pat's getting ready to swat this one out of the park right here. Sit back and enjoy. And you come back and say, I don't know, Alabama's defense. Were you just trying not to homer up, or do you really think Alabama is the better team?
That's right. You can't homer up, buddy. You never know. Day by day, you gotta stay sharp. You know what I'm saying? You gotta stay sharp.
So is Alabama truly the better team right now, or is Arkansas playing the best right now?
Saying it so, Pat.
I'm going to pin you down on
Oh, man. You talking like right now if they
Snapshot today, March 3rd.
8:15 a.m. at a neutral site, or we picking Rogers Fayetteville High School or Bentonville High School?
Yep.
I would think the way that, honestly, this season has been going, week by week, you could say, like, I would say right now the Hogs are clicking, playing better than anybody. The impressive thing about Alabama is they've been able to win games when they haven't played their best. And I think you could say that for the Hogs, too. Like, our guy Steve Sullivan, he loves saying, and he tweets it out, the Hogs they've won every game they should have won. The games they lost were against, at the time, like a number 12 Missouri team, LSU, Bama, and Tennessee, at Tennessee, which we had a shot at that game. So, right now, yeah, the way we're just clicking on all cylinders, that's the reason why. I mean, we got to be one of the hottest. We're right now one of the hottest teams in the country. As a matter of fact, I would. Gonzaga looks pretty scary.
Have they been tested? Has Gonzaga been tested enough just based on the conference they're in, or are they going to get into the tournament, get to that second weekend, and face some competition that they're not ready for? What do you think happens with them?
Probably 3 years. I think that they have one of their better teams. They have the best team that they've ever had. So in their conferences, yeah, I guess St. Mary's sometimes is pretty good. Give them a challenge. It just seems to me that their team this year they just look different. I don't know, there's something about them that seems different this year. When you consider that they've got a one-and-done guy on their team, which I don't think they've ever had, Jalen Suggs, who was like Mr. Basketball, Mr. Football in a state. and he's going to be probably a lottery pick. They have also playing for them last year's starting point guard for Florida, Andrew Nembhard. I mean, when the heck has that ever happened? And this kid was a heck of a player in the last couple of years, if you remember, for Florida. And in addition to that, obviously they've got some good interior players. They've got some good shooters. So they look to me to be the real deal. Unfortunately, in the past, they've not been able to have that translate into NCAA tournament win, although they've gotten close. What was it, 2017, Final Four. So anything can happen in the one and done. I just look at them, and they just look a little bit better this year, a little bit different in the positive side this year.
Could find themselves in the national championship that like they did a few years prior against the North
Carolina, right?
Yeah, North Carolina's not going to be there, are they, though, Pat?
South Carolina was in that Final Four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
the year Frank Martin took South Carolina.
Sindarius Thornwell, they beat Jason Tatum and Duke on the way there. I remember that. Pat, we really appreciate you joining us this morning. Before we let you go, I got a text from Keith Wilson, who's the owner of CJ's. We're about to get into our What's Your Beef Wednesday, and he told me the next time you're in Fayetteville, stop on by and the burger's on him. Okay, man?
Keith, you know it, my brother. How about 2 burgers? Can I get 2 burgers?
I think he'll be able to hook you up, Pat, with anything you want.
Keith. Come on, Keith. All right, boys. I'm going to go take a nap. We get another late one tonight.
All right. Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, PB.
Really appreciate PB waking up with us early this morning. He had a long night last night. I appreciate him making some time for us here on the Morning Rush.